I mean, the guy's tough. I mean, hands down, the guy's got the talk to back it up. And, you know, what's awesome is these guys, these Irish guys, you guys are crazy. And I absolutely love it. I mean,
how much, if any, of the fight can you remember?
Yeah, he threw a cross on my chest, which I wasn't expected. Then I threw a punch, and he came back with another cross, and that was that. I think that we need the rematch. It was really not a fight, so we need to get back in here.
Clean sweep for the Irish. I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
Welcome back, everybody, to Keenan K TV. The UFC has had many superstars throughout the years, from Brock Lesnar, George St. Pierre, to Johnny Bones Jones. But there has only been one man who truly stuck out from the crowd, especially when it came to growing the sport's popularity. That man is Conor McGregor. The Irishman has gained many plaudits from the hardcore UFC fans as well as the casual fans he introduced to the sport. McGregor, with his immense striking skills, delivered us not only first-round knockout finishes, but also very entertaining, brash press conferences. With these two factors, McGregor ensured that he himself would be at the pinnacle of the UFC's rise. Now, with McGregor set to face Donald Cowboy Cerrone at UFC 246, let us take a look back at the Notorious One's opponents before and after fighting him. Before we start, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now, with that being said, let's jump right into the video. Eddie Alvarez, who after defeating Rafael dos Anjos and picking up the UFC lightweight title, was scheduled to fight Conor McGregor. McGregor, who held the featherweight title at the time, had the opportunity to become the UFC's simultaneous two-weight world champion. Before facing McGregor, Eddie Alvarez had lost his debut fight against Cowboy Donald Cerrone. However though, he quickly recovered from this loss by defeating three world champions back-to-back, Gilbert Melendez, Anthony Pettis, and Rafael dos Anjos. By defeating Rafael dos Anjos, Eddie Alvarez became the new lightweight world champion, and it was now time for him to defend his world title. And now looking back at it, Eddie was about to face his toughest test, and was about to be in the biggest fight of his entire career, facing the notorious Conor McGregor. Before the fight, Conor McGregor was quick to throw many insults at Eddie Alvarez. Eddie quickly replied with his own insults himself, making sure that the pre-fight trash talk lived up to the excitement of the fight that was about to come up.
Robert X. Just had a 5-round battle with Nate Diaz in a short turnaround. Are you ready for this fight?
I'm fresh, ready to go. I look forward to it. I'm going to shut this man up. Trust me on that. After I beat Conor and silence the country of Ireland, I'll have a couple pina coladas. You have to look for me somewhere.
However though, during it all, Eddie Alvarez had made the mistake of thinking Conor McGregor would be his easiest fight to date.
Opponent that made the most money, that's the truth.
Come prove it.
You were my easiest opponent that made the most money.
Come prove
That's
it.
why you were picked.
I could buy and sell
That's
the
why
whole
you were
fucking
picked.
town. I could buy and...
And for this, he would pay a very big price. In the fight, McGregor completely shut Eddie down, with his distance management and control of Eddie's lead hand, completely zoning the lightweight champion out and making him very anxious in the process. Because of this, Eddie threw telegraph shots that McGregor saw coming from a mile away, and easily countered them and knocked Eddie down many times in the process. Ultimately defeating Alvarez in the second round with a 4-punch counter, McGregor had lived up to his name of being one of the best finishers in the game, and became the first ever simultaneous two-weight world champion in the UFC.
Disappointed. I didn't fight a good fight. I went in with a plan. And stick to the plan. I think I paid for it. So,
after this fight, Alvarez's UFC career seemed to take a downfall. After a no-contest result against the ever-rising Dustin Poirier at UFC 211, he was then able to finish off 2017 with a win over Justin Gaethje. In 2018, Alvarez lost to Poirier in the much-anticipated rematch, and after that, he left the UFC and joined ONE Championship in October 2018, where he now holds a record of 1 win and 1 loss. Brazil's Diego Brandão fought on various MMA platforms, such as Amazon Challenge and Mr. Cage Championship, before entering the UFC's Ultimate Fighter series. With a success in the final against Dennis Bermudez, he began his UFC career on UFC 146 on the Dos Santos Mir undercard. In July 2014, he faced Notorious Conor McGregor, headlining a UFC Fight Night card in Dublin, Ireland. Diego was another fighter who thought Conor McGregor was a joker, and not somebody he had to take seriously, expressing this in numerous pre-fight interviews.
Do that to me that easy, that quick. He can do, you know, you never know, but it's not gonna be that easy the way he's been talking. So this is why I call him a clown, you know. So I don't think there's a fighter that in the UFC's history that has done what I have done in the space that I have done it. And Saturday night when I go out there and put Diego away in the first round, I will prove my worth.
Immediately from the opening of the fight, Conor McGregor came forward and opened up with a spinning back kick to the body. It was very clear that Diego wanted to meet Conor McGregor punch for punch, and that really promised for fireworks in this match. Right away trying to hit Conor McGregor with his own high kick, and then he tried to close in the distance with a flying knee. However, every time Diego wanted to close in the distance and go after Conor McGregor, Conor was just stopping him right in his tracks with a beautiful left hand down the pipe. However, this would not discourage the very tough Diego, immediately coming back with his own left hook. As Diego tried to take down Conor McGregor, Conor was very good at reversing the takedown and he ended up on top, where he would continuously keep the pressure on Brandao, stacking him and hitting him with ground and pound. As soon as Diego got up, he immediately felt the pressure of that and he needed some space. Backing up from Conor, but as Conor was walking forward, he was able to clip him with a beautiful 1-2. As he was being backed up more and more, Diego felt like he had to answer, and immediately as he tried to answer, Conor met him with a beautiful spinning heel kick to the face. And with that technique, Diego was very much so stunned and Conor went in for the finish. Diego tried returning fire, but it was just a matter of time before he was pinned up against the cage and Conor hit him with a beautiful body shot that immediately took the wind out of his system, and from there Diego was simply not able to recover and Conor just finished it off with a beautiful 1-2. Followed up with some ground and pound. That was the end of the fight. At this point, being able to finish somebody like Diego in the first round really spoke volumes at the level Conor McGregor was operating at. And now it was time for Conor to fight somebody in the top 5. Future interim lightweight champion Dustin Poirier.
No, actually, first of all, I want to say thanks to Conor McGregor for, you know, doing what he said, finish the first round. Congratulations.
Brandao's UFC career after the loss was very short. He fought 3 more times, and with his final loss to Brian Ortega in 2016, he since then has fought for FNG, Ryzen, and a Russian cage fighter, and is now currently fighting in ACA. Fighting in his 4th UFC bout, another opponent that McGregor faced was the ever-impressive Diamond Dustin Poirier. McGregor, as brash as ever, conducted the press conference with the self-confidence he possesses and predicted a first-round stoppage.
Attack him with a jab and he's going to wobble and I'm going to put him away early. It's going to be a first-round KO, mark my words.
Personal and it's business. It's a grudge match. I don't like this guy, you know, and I'm not sure. It sounds like he doesn't like me, obviously. Well, we're gonna go in there and see who's a better fighter. You know, that's what it comes down to. It's fun. It's the first time I've ever fought somebody talking like this. You know, he falls in love with that, but I think he's more in love with himself, and I think that's gonna be his downfall. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. We'll see.
McGregor looked to put down the American very early on in the fight. Living up to his word of a first-round stoppage, McGregor, using his clinical left hand to start off his attacks, later was able to finish off the American with another left that grazed the ear area of Poirier to put him down, and then he finished him off. With this win, Conor McGregor inserted himself in the title contention picture and was starting to build up his popularity as well.
Now he moves well. He's hard to read. His timing's different than everybody else's. He moves different. So, you know, he's good. He's good. He's a great athlete. He's fast.
Since then, Poirier has fought in the UFC 12 times and has remained a good fighter in the rankings, with wins over Anthony Pettis, Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, and Max Holloway, winning the UFC lightweight interim title. He was then next in line to fight the destructive Khabib Nurmagomedov. With the fight set in Abu Dhabi for the first time in 2019, Poirier ended up losing to Khabib by a rear naked choke, and he is now looking to see what is in his path for 2020. Chad Mendes got his luck of the draw when he was called in as a replacement for Jose Aldo, who had to pull out from his fight with Conor McGregor. Having lost twice to Jose Aldo for the featherweight world title, Mendes knew he could not spurn any more chances at becoming a UFC champion.
You know, I gotta say, the one person that's lucky that decision didn't go my way is Conor McGregor. I'm still looking forward to whooping your ass one day, buddy.
So now that he was set to fight Conor McGregor, whom he also called out after losing to Jose Aldo for the second time, both Mendes and Conor knew what was on the line, and they were definitely very much so competitive going into this fight.
You know what wrestling is?
I could rest my balls on your forehead.
Yeah. When I look at this guy, I see dollar signs in my bank account. This is a bad matchup.
Having had numerous trash-talking exchanges before this fight even was announced, it was time to see who was the better fighter out of the two. Mendes was known for his wrestling skills, and he looked to take Conor McGregor down to the ground. And so in the fight, he was having success with this. However though, Conor McGregor ended the fight in the second round after a tremendous scramble, and was able to catch Chad Mendes with a beautiful 1-2, and was able to end the fight off with a tremendous knockout finish.
I mean, the guy's tough. I mean, hands down, the guy's got the talk to back it up, and I don't have any regrets. Conor's a guy that I knew I was going to be fighting eventually, and this is a UFC, man. You get the chance to get in here and fight, whether it's a day notice or 2 weeks or a full camp. You get in here and do it. So, I want to thank Conor. Thank you so much, brother.
After his loss to McGregor in the same year, Chad Mendes had lost to Frankie Edgar by way of knockout in the very first round. Following that, he was suspended for a year, and it wasn't up until 2018 that he finally returned to the octagon. Defeating Miles Jury by way of knockout in the very first round as well, he then fought for the very last time against the current featherweight world champion Alexander Volkanovski. Mendes is currently a very happily retired UFC fighter and has had many great UFC runs under his name, and he was one of the few better UFC fighters to never hold a title. With the initial fight with Jose Aldo called off, McGregor and Aldo were finally set to face off at UFC 194. Brazil's own Jose Aldo on paper was Conor McGregor's toughest test at the time, being the only UFC featherweight champion in history and a 10-year-long undefeated phenom in his prime. Aldo seemed to be the favorite and was confident coming into this fight.
Que vender, então quanto ele pode fazer, falar o que ele quiser, mas o importante é que ele está trazendo dinheiro para mim, então fico feliz quanto a isso. Chegar lá dentro, onde a luta cair, vai ser minha, ou em pé ou no chão, e não passo o primeiro round que eu sei que eu vou pegar ele.
There was no love lost with Aldo, as the pair did a World Tour press conference for the build-up to this fight. In these press conferences, McGregor made sure that he went straight after Jose Aldo, showing him no respect and disrespecting him in the process, trying to get under his skin and make him fight out of character. Aldo seemed to be vested with emotion leading up to this fight.
I own Rio de Janeiro, so for him to say he is the king and I am the joker, if this was a different time, I would invade his favela on horseback and kill anyone that was not fit to walk. But we are in a new time, so I'll whoop his ass in July.
And in the fight itself, we saw one of the greatest and quickest finishes in UFC history. McGregor was able to lure Jose Aldo into his notorious left-hand counter and was able to finish the fight off in just 13 seconds. With this knockout, Conor McGregor launched himself into superstardom, and from there, he was able to lift the UFC to new heights.
How much, if any, of the fight can you remember?
Yeah, he threw a cross on my chest, which I wasn't expected. Then I threw a punch and he came back with another cross, and that was that. I think that we need the rematch. It was really not a fight, so we need to get back in here.
Aldo was tipped to be one of the best fighters to ever set foot in the octagon in the UFC, but since the loss, Jose Aldo lost 4 of his next 7 fights, with the recent one being against Marlon Moraes in a fight that many thought he won, but ended up losing via split decision. The loss to McGregor seemed to get to Aldo the most, and it also was the most sudden fall from grace. With an unsuccessful debut at the bantamweight division, right now the future for Jose Aldo seems very uncertain. Stockton's own Nate Diaz has proved to set one of the biggest rivalries in UFC history. McGregor and him have faced off twice and won respectively each of those fights. While both men had their back and forth with the pre-fight trash talking, McGregor and Diaz provided the UFC with their 2 great fights in the history of its platform. Firstly, the trash talk gained much attention, from the initial press conference to water bottles being thrown. When it comes to the fights,
not only going to finish you, but that he's going to do it very early.
I think it's a little silly, man. Got pictures of me up in his garage with him punch me in the face. Like, what the fuck?
Shut your mouth, you'll do nothing.
nothing. Not one of you will do nothing. Get the out of here. Get the out of here.
That's all right. Hey, Connor, don't throw. Connor.
McGregor lost the first one, and in the second round, he got choked out by a rear naked choke. It was one of the biggest fights in 2016 and arguably one of the bigger upsets in UFC history, and one that captured the fans' attention from the get-go. In the second fight, Conor McGregor came in prepared, as in the first fight he was completely winning up until the point he started to gas out. So in the second fight, he made some changes to his game plan, fighting a lot more preserved and also a lot more keen on going to the fifth and final round.
Of course, to kind of look at how we were preparing for these contests, you know, it got complacent. We'll show up anytime, we'll train whatever we feel like.
Whereas Conor McGregor was able to also implement new tactics such as the leg kicks and sticking to a more traditional boxing output, Diaz showed his inabilities to adapt into this fight, fighting simply the same way that he did in the first fight in the second fight. Throughout the contest, Conor beat Diaz to the punch and limited the amount the fight went to the floor. McGregor came out of the fight victorious, much to an amazed Diaz who thought he won the fight.
I thought I'd win that fight. They can't have a like me winning. I'm too real for this sport. They're gonna get me out when they can, but it's all good though.
After the loss, Nate Diaz was away from the sport for nearly 3 years and returned in August 2019 when he defeated Anthony Pettis. Following his win over Pettis, he called out Jorge Masvidal in a much anticipated super fight which was going to be fought for a new BMF title. In the fight, Jorge Masvidal completely dominated Nate Diaz, and then the fight was called off by the doctor after Nate Diaz was suffering severe cuts. Right now, the future for Diaz remains uncertain. He showed no intentions of retiring, so we have to keep an eye out for his return, whenever that may be coming. McGregor showed his influence on the sports and is now looking to resurrect his career as he's facing off against Donald Cowboy Cerrone on the 18th of 2020 at UFC 246, with the option of a Khabib rematch in 2020 and even potentially having a rubber match with Nate Diaz. McGregor's future in the sport could still be bright. However though, these were the opponents before and after fighting Conor McGregor. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and also check out Fight Club Chronicles, who wrote the script and edited this video. As always, I have been Keenan from Keenan KTV, signing off.